Welcome back. We spent the last few weeks architecting your model, your tech, your customer flow, and now we arrive at the part where growth becomes real, delivery. This session is about scaling how you serve, not just how you sell. Because what breaks most companies isn't the product, it's the delivery. It's that moment when the customer experience can't keep us with demand, and suddenly your success starts to feel like chaos. So, today we're going to talk about how to grow without breaking your promise, how to build systems that let you deliver with excellence again and again. So whether you're serving 10 customers or 10,000, think of this as the moment where your business graduates from hustle to infrastructure. Because scaling isn't about doing more, it's about delivering better and repeatedly. So, for anyone who's joining us for the first time, here's a quick look at who we are. Copper and Vine is a strategy and systems design studio focused on helping founders build responsibly and scale sustainably. We work at the intersection of strategy, culture, and technology because scaling is never just a one thing, right? And it's how your ideas, your people, and your tools move together. We're founder centered, which means our work aligns with our leadership style and your pace. And we're outcome driven. So everything you build inside of our agency is meant to give you clarity, it's meant to give you capacity and readiness for growth. And we're compliance first. We believe in the power of speed, but speed means nothing if you can't sustain it ethically and securely. So if you want to if you want to explore our frameworks or our worksheets or join future sessions live, you can scan this QR code, get in contact with us, and we look forward to being a resource. So a little about me, I'm Rakia Finley. I get to lead the Copper and Vine team. I'm a founder, technologist, and coalition architect. And my passion is building responsible, scalable, and human-centered systems. So for the past 20 years, I've worked across sectors from government innovation and youth protection to AI, SaaS, and digital health. I'm telling you that for one reason. The frameworks I teach here in our founders circle aren't theory. They come from working inside companies at their best and rescuing them at their breaking point. I've seen what happens when businesses try to scale without structure and what becomes possible when founders slow down long enough to build the right infrastructure. Everything we walk through today is designed to help you grow with confidence and reduce chaos. It's meant to help you build systems that support your vision. They support your values and are meant to support your team, not systems that are meant to drain you. So I'm excited to really help you make that shift today. So before we get into the mechanics of today's blueprint, I want to ground us in a real world example. Our Turn. So Our Turn is a wellness technology platform built by our team at Copper and Vine. Our Turn has an early product validation already and is has investor momentum. But like most early stage companies, everything depends on a founding team. Every new user, when we first built our turn, was built off of spreadsheets and manual onboarding, and even sometimes some late night fixes. So when we revived and refined our turn, we didn't just solve that early growth problem, but we solved any potential chaos problem. So before we pushed our turn into the market, we built what we call a delivery systems blueprint. That delivery systems blueprint is meant to automate onboarding, structure customer communication, and create clear quality gates meant for operational workflows that could support thousands of users. And because of that, our turn onboards about 1,000 new users every 2 weeks with zero support tickets required. Not because of a big team, but because of a clear delivery system. So you can scan the QR code to explore if you'd like. But the reason I'm showing you our turn is simple. It's meant to show you what it looks like to offer a product that is just as strong as its solution as it is in its delivery systems. So today we're going to really learn about how to build that system for your product, for your company, for yourself. So by this point in your journey, you've done what most founders never get far enough to do. You've built the model. You've validated your customer, you've clarified your offer, and you've architected the path from idea to value. So now the question becomes, can it deliver? Not once, not when you have time, but every time, with consistency, with quality, with ease. So this is the moment in your founder journey where the business is meant to shift from vision to infrastructure, right? Because the distance between idea and impact isn't really bridged by passion here. It's going to be bridged by systems. And that's what our delivery system blueprint is really designed to do. It's designed to turn the beautiful idea you've built into a structure that can hold weight, right? That can hold customers, revenue, team, growth without collapsing under success. So your business model says what you want to deliver. Your delivery blueprint proves whether you can. Okay, so this is one of the most important truths I can give you as a founder, right? Growth does not break your business. It breaks the parts built by hustle. So hustle is great for getting started. It gives you speed, flexibility, it's going to give you survival instincts, but hustle has a shelf life. And the moment you begin to scale, hustle becomes a liability. So the shortcuts you took to move fast, the undocumented processes that just kind of live in your head, the scrappiness that carried you and kind of early on, all of that is going to become a fault line between startup and scale. So when founders tell me I'm doing everything right, but something still feels fragile, this is why. You're not broken. Your systems just weren't designed for the next level yet. So today we're going to rebuild those systems, not from hustle, but from architecture, from structure, from clarity, right? Because when we talk about scaling, we're not talking about doing more. We're talking about doing the right things the same way every time. So before we go deeper, I want to anchor us in one definition. What exactly is a delivery systems blueprint? I'm happy you asked, right? So at its core, your blueprint is the documented, repeatable, delegatable path your service follows from request all the way to completion. So it captures every step in your customer journey, who owns what, no ambiguity, which tools support each phase, what happens automatically versus what happens manually, where quality is protected, and what information is meant to flow through your systems. So if your current delivery relies on your memory, your presence, your intuition, that is not a blueprint. That is a bottleneck, actually, right? So a blueprint is meant to turn the invisible into a visible. It's going to make your business teachable. It's going to make your delivery reliable. And it really allows your service to scale without degrading the customer experience. This is the difference between hoping your team gets it right and engineering excellence into every step. So consistency is not an accident here when we talk about this level. It's necessarily the result of having the right pieces working in harmony. Every service, no matter the industry, becomes consistent when these five components are strong, in my opinion, right? So number one is process. That's the exact steps. This removes guesswork out of it. It's if 10 people followed the blueprint, 10 people would deliver the same quality. That's what your process produces for you. Second is ownership. Who does what? So your growth collapses when responsibility is vague. Ownership creates accountability and speed. So now we have process, right? These 10 people are going to do these things. Now we have the ownership. Who are these 10 people? What are they responsible for? Third to that is tools. Tools are the systems that support the work. So not the fancy tools, we're talking about the right tools. Tools that reduce friction, tools that make delivery easier, right? Tools that reduce the heaviness of the work that we're doing. Four is quality gates. Where does excellence get checked? Where is excellence checked? So you want to think of quality gates as guardrails that prevent inconsistencies. So quality rates are guardrails that prevent inconsistencies. So your standards should be engineered, not assumed. You should have your standards written down as quality gates. Fifth to that is data flow, where insights move. If information is getting stuck somewhere, delivery is getting stuck somewhere. So data ensures every step is connected, measurable, and improvable. So when you put these five together, and what you get is a system that is not only consistent, but you're going to get a system that's scalable and able to delegate off of. The documented path from request to completion that becomes your company's operation backbone is what you want to see when these five components are in action. This is the foundation of your delivery systems blueprint. Okay. And just a core truth here, right? A core truth behind operating and scaling is systems don't really break because you suddenly got too successful. They usually break because complexity increased and the business wasn't architected to hold it. Complexity is what happens when your client volume grows, or your offer expands, or your team scales, or your tools, the tools that you're using, start to multiply, or your delivery process becomes less clear. That's how you know complexity is starting to happen. And success simply exposes what wasn't structurally sound within that complexity. So this is why delivery system blueprint matters. It's meant to reduce complexity, even as the business grows. It gives the work a predictable rhythm so that growth doesn't feel like chaos. So let's come back to Maya here. When we last saw Maya, she had validated her model and she had landed early traction. And now she's hitting the stage where founders hit the delivery chaos zone. So suddenly everything is happening at once. She has too many tools, too many steps, too many things only she knows to do, too many expectations she's trying to meet, and usually trying to meet them manually. Nothing is technically broken for Maya, but nothing really feels stable either. So if you've ever really felt like you're juggling your business instead of running it, this is that moment. This isn't a Maya problem. This tends to be a systems problem. And systems problems only get louder when we grow. So this is what the inside of Maya's business actually feels like. Not the numbers, not the branding, not the pitch deck, but the day-to-day operational reality, it's a swirl. Work is happening, but it's not flowing. Task gets stuck, handoffs get missed, clients get inconsistent experiences, information lives in 10 places and nowhere at the same time. What Maya realizes here is that her business isn't struggling because she had bad experiences or she's bad at what she does. It's struggling because the work has no engineered path. This is where most founders start trying to work harder when the real solution is to create clarity. So, and then what usually happens is growth arrives. In Maya's case, we had her with a big contract, a spike in demand, a moment she should have been celebrating, except instead of celebrating, she feels the bridge underneath her start to crack. Her offer is strong, her customers love her, the opportunity is real, but her systems aren't built to carry the weight. This is the moment when founders either burn out or build better. This is the start of Maya's delivery blueprint journey, and it mirrors exactly what many of us as founders are feeling in these moments. You know your service should scale, you know the demand is there, but the operational foundation can't support the next level yet. So that's what we're here to fix. Okay. All right. So here's where everything kind of starts clicking. If you kind of take nothing else, I want you to take this, right? Delivery is not a straight line. Delivery is always a loop. It's a rhythm. It's a system that refreshes itself as you grow. So every scalable company, every high performing service team, every SaaS onboarding engine, they all move through the same 4 stages. Foundation, the structure, delivery, the execution, optimization, that's the refinement, and then the scale, that's the expansion. And then we just go back from there. And then the loop repeats, right? The mistake most founders make is jumping straight to scale without stabilizing the other 3. That's how teams tend to burn out. Client churn, growth becomes liability, all those things. But when you follow this loop in its order and then cycle through it repeatedly, your business is going to become stronger, simpler, and more predictable with every turn. So this loop is how we're going to turn Maya's chaos into clarity. So the first stage of any scalable delivery system is going to be foundation, clarity, and structure. So this is where you define, right? You're going to define your documentation, so your documented SOPs. You're going to define your ownership, who does what within that SOP, and you're going to define your capacity, what one person or one process can truly handle. What can one person on our team truly handle? What can one process truly handle, right? Most founders skip this stage because it feels slow, right? It feels unnecessary. Let's just get into it. But skipping it is exactly why things feel like they're always falling apart. Without structure, growth doesn't create freedom, it creates chaos. So, this is the part of the loop where Maya realized I don't know what to do, or I don't have a workflow. I have a collection of habits, is usually what we see founders have. You just have a collection of habits. Oh, well, we all check in every Monday. Well, is that your workflow? Right? Oh, well, we always just, say how we're feeling and say what we've completed at the end of every Friday. Is that your workflow? Right? When we get a new client, I usually end up calling my co-founder and we have a quick chat about it. That's a lot of phone calls when we start talking about 1,000 customers. Is that your workflow? Right? So it allows you to get really honest about what your actual workflow is. Because foundations here is meant to transform those habits into a functional system. So then once the foundation is set, we move to delivery. The part most founders focus on, but rarely do they engineer it. So here we're talking about engineering delivery. Delivery is the bridge between your promise and your proof. This stage is about operational rhythm, the predictable cadence your team follows. It's about team coordination, how handoffs work, how communication flows. It's about customer quality assurance, right? The checkpoints that guarantee consistency. This is not about doing more. It's about doing the same thing well every single time. So great delivery creates trust. Trust creates retention. Retention creates revenue. This is the moment where Maya is going to stop improvising and she's going to start executing. She's going to start building in consistency. So after delivery comes optimization. This is where systems begin to learn. This is where you're going to turn feedback, you're going to turn customer data, and you're going to turn existing performance patterns as you know them into improvements. So optimization means systems that learn. So what's working, what's not. Optimization is systems that improve, tightening the process or removing friction in the process. And then optimization is going to be systems that adapt, especially when demand and scale start to shift. So this is also where automation becomes meaningful, not as a shortcut, but as a stabilizer. Automation doesn't replace humans. It eliminates the repetitive, error-prone steps so humans can deliver better work. So this stage is where Maya is going to see her chaos begin to calm down because the business is going to become smarter than her manual effort, because through every new customer, she's looking at her systems, she's learning what was working, she's learning what didn't work, she's learning what processes need to be tightened, where she needs to remove friction, she's learning when she needs to shift based off scalability. All of that's happening during her optimization process. And she's utilizing that insight to create new level optimization. And then finally, we reach scale, but only after the other three stages are strong. Scale is not volume. Scale is predictability. So scale means you know what excellence looks like. Scale means your team can deliver that excellence without you. Scale also means your systems are stable enough to handle more demand. So this is where empowerment shows up for you and for your team. You are no longer the bottleneck just because you're the founder. Your team also is no longer overwhelmed when we're into this step, right? Your clients get consistent results regardless of volume. This is the stage founders dream about. It's the possible when, and it is possible, it usually is possible when we have those first three stages in order and when those three stages are respected. So this is where Maya finally steps out of firefighting mode and into a leadership mode. And that's when we're entering into scale. Okay, so this is the question almost no founder asks until it's about too late. And that's how much can your team actually deliver sustainably? Not on a good day, not on if everybody pushes, not if I jump in and save the day or if we pull an all-nighter. I mean mathematically, operationally, and repeatedly, what can your team actually deliver? So most businesses here overestimate their true capacity. They usually overestimate capacity by about 40 to 60%. And that gap is exactly where burnout, mistakes, and customer dissatisfaction live. So capacity is formula driven. Capacity equals hours times cost times people per delivery. So if it takes 10 hours to deliver one client result and your team has 100 hours available, your ceiling is 10 clients, full stop. Now, if it doesn't matter how good your marketing is, or how many leads you have, or how fast your sales grow, if your delivery can, none of that matters. None of that will matter if your delivery can't sustain the volume you are marketing, right? You're not scaling in that moment, you're simply eroding. So, this is the point where Maya is meant to realize it's not that I'm bad at growth, I just never calculated my operational reality. And where I like to see operational reality is usually at about 80 to 85% of capacity. So if you know you can only do 10 clients with those 100 hours, then we technically, our ideal capacity is 8 clients, right? 8 to 8.5 clients. So if we know that, then we also start backtracking that. What does that level of capacity mean to our revenue? And we start advancing our customer KPIs from there. Every founder, right, is going to have a moment where success becomes dangerous, not because the product is bad, but because the demand is going to grow faster than the systems. So when demand exceeds capacity, 4 predictable things tend to happen. The first one is you're going to have broken customer experiences. Things are going to slip, mistakes are going to multiply. Second is you're going to have internal complexity spikes. You're going to have too many hacks, you're going to have too many workarounds, you're going to have too many patches in your business. Thirdly, to that is you're going to start having premature expansion, which usually means that you're hiring too quickly or too randomly, or what I see a lot, too emotionally. And then fourth, what usually happens when demand exceeds capacity is team burnout. So your people become overwhelmed, right? And usually this happens long before they become ineffective if they're overwhelmed. And none of this is going to feel like failure because at the heart of it, most of it is physics. It's the business's version of pouring too much water into a glass. It will spill no matter how well intentioned you are. So if you're like Maya, right, the reality of that moment of 1,000 B2B users showed up on your platform, her glass wasn't broken. It was simply too small for the volume she asked to hold. Growth isn't the problem. Unpreparedness is. There's a hidden tax on growth that most businesses pay without realizing it. It shows up as lost customers, missed opportunities, and preventable burnout. Not because you aren't talented, usually because your systems are carrying a load they were never built for. So this tax usually eats up at your profit, it eats up at your team's morale, and eventually is going to eat up at your reputation. Here's the truth, right? You're not going to pay this tax when you grow. You're going to pay it when you grow unprepared. Every founder thinks that the biggest risk is not growing fast enough. But the real risk, in my opinion, is growing faster than your infrastructure can support. The goal isn't just to scale. The goal is to scale without paying this tax. And that's exactly what that delivery system blueprint helps you avoid. It lets you keep your money It lets you keep your people, and it's meant to help you keep your clients and your customers, even as your demand increases. So the simple truth here is you can't scale what you can't quantify. Delivery capacity is not a vibe. It's not a wish. It's not a hope that we'll figure it out as we grow. Your delivery capacity is a formula. Hours times cost times people equals delivery capacity. This formula tells you how many customers you can serve well, how many you cannot. It's going to tell you the exact moment your quality will drop. That's that 80 to 85%. We're starting to risk quality once we go over that capacity number. Whether it's going to tell you whether your business model is profitable at scale. So if we can only afford 8 custom clients, what does that mean for our numbers of our revenue? Can we scale that way? Does our business model support profit? It's also going to tell you whether you need systems, whether you need automation, or whether you need your staffing to expand, because that capacity number changes based off of hours, cost, and people. This is the part I think founders skip, especially in the early days, because hustle makes it feel like you can bend capacity with just enough effort. But math always wins here. The math has got to math. And this is where you and Maya finally kind of get to see the truth, right? Maya didn't have a customer problem. She had a capacity problem. So you never systemize first, you calculate first. Why? Right? Because if you build a system before you understand your true workload, you risk building the wrong system beautifully. A system should solve a real bottleneck, not decorate it. So what a calculation is going to give you, a calculation of your system is going to give you is your current bandwidth, your hidden constraints, your unsustainable processes, your real cost per delivery, and your true scalability. So when Maya first tried to systemize, she built SOPs for things that weren't real problems, right? Maybe she built a really long SOP about how to manage her email inbox. But the turning point was this slide right here. It was when she understood her real numbers before making operational decisions. So when you calculate first, systemization becomes strategic, not cosmetic. Okay, so that's when we go back to our capacity mapping understanding. Capacity mapping is one of the most important tools in our scaling delivery. Capacity mapping takes your formula and visualizes it across workload and resources. So here's what this chart reveals instantly for us. Our capacity map will always tell us when our workload is too high, when resources are too low, when we're overstaffed, or when we're understaffed. The ideal lane where quality and efficiency meet are these points. So if one customer takes 10 hours and your team has 100 hours, your limit is 10 customers, not 11, not 15, not as many as we can squeeze in as long as everyone stays late, right? So that's the difference between scaling with control and scaling with chaos. So Maya thought she had unlimited capacity, which is why she took on this 1,000-person, B2B project. And it also is because she had unlimited belief, and every founder should have unlimited belief. But belief does not expand hours. Capacity mapping will save you from collapsing under your own momentum because it will always keep you honest to your resources and your staff. And we get to remember here that growth is not linear, it's architectural. You don't leap from startup to enterprise. You build up through layers: foundation, early scale, growth, enterprise. Each stage demands a different operational rhythm. The system that worked at stage 1 will break at stage 2, and the systems at stage 2 will suffocate stage 3. This is where most founders fail because they can't grow, because they use the same systems at every level. So this is your permission slip here to that: one, you're not behind and you're not failing. It's that you simply are at a stage that requires a new structure. And this is the shift that we want to see. We want to see Maya make. Maya had to make when she used her user base suddenly multiplied, right? Her startup bridge couldn't support enterprise traffic. This framework showed her what to rebuild and what to keep and what to evolve. Because what was happening to her is that she actually was growing into another stage. So this is where your delivery stops being a list of tasks and becomes a living system. A delivery ecosystem map shows what inputs enter your process, what work moves through your operations, what tools support each step, who owns each moment, and what outputs guarantee consistency. So it's the blueprint your team can follow without you. That's the heart of your delivery ecosystem map. It's what makes delegation possible. It's what turns chaos into clarity. So when Maya saw her ecosystem mapped out, she realized something powerful. It wasn't that her team wasn't capable, it was that they were operating inside of a fog. Once the map becomes clear, performance gets to become predictable. So this is where every scalable business gets to live, inside a delivery ecosystem that runs like a machine, but feels like a promise kept, right? So this is where we pick Maya back up in her journey. Okay, and honestly, if you haven't gotten it, it's where I see many founders find themselves. Maya finally hit her big break. Her platform landed an enterprise contract, 1,000 users arrived almost overnight, and instead of feeling like success, it felt like suffocation. She was manually onboarding every user. Her team was drowning in emails, spreadsheets, and support messages. Everyone was working harder, but no one was moving forward. This is the moment most founders mistake for a capacity problem. But Maya didn't just have too many users, she had too many manual steps. This is the tipping point where great founders shift from working harder to working smarter, and where delivery systems become the difference between growth and collapse. So the first step Maya took was mapping her capacity, but not just her hours. She mapped every task in her delivery flow, every action, every handoff, every repeated step, every moment where someone waited for someone else, every manual bottleneck hiding behind, we've always done it this way. So this is important, right? Most founders only measure the time something takes, but the number of tasks inside your process tells the real truth. So when Maya mapped her task, she discovered she didn't have a people problem, she had a process problem. Capacity mapping showed her exactly where she needed automation, where she needed clarity, and where tasks were stealing hours she didn't know she was losing. So once Maya saw the truth in her capacity map, her next move was obvious: automate the repeatable. She didn't automate empathy. She didn't automate relationship. She automated friction. She replaced manual welcome emails, repetitive questions, back and forth scheduling, duplicate data entry with a simple guided onboarding flow. So this single decision gave her team probably back around 40 plus hours a week and removed the chaos they were drowning in. Here's the rule I teach every one of our clients, right? If it repeats, automate it. If it requires care, humanize it. Automation protects your people so they can show up where it matters most. Not inside spreadsheets and inboxes, but inside the customer experience. So with onboarding stabilized, Maya could finally strengthen the system itself. This is where SOPs, standard operating procedures, become your best friend. So SOPs take the guesswork out of excellence. They define what gets done, how it gets done, who does it, and what quality looks like. This is also when team development becomes intentional. We use the 30, 60, 90 model here. 30 days, learn the system. So you want your team to understand what excellence looks like within the first 30 days of them being a part of your team. The next 60 days is focused on contribute. So within 60 days, you want to know that they can refine, improve, or tighten what already exists. They're so well aware that they have enough awareness to contribute. And within those 90 days, we want to know that our team can lead, that that team member can take full ownership of outcomes, not just tasks. SOPs make this possible. They turn individual heroics into team consistency. They turn chaos into culture. So this is the transformation every founder wants, right? And it's the one Maya finally stepped into. Her team moved from scrambling to flowing, from reactive to coordinated, from guessing to delivering with confidence. Because once your capacity is mapped, once your onboarding is automated, once your SOPs are documented, your business stops depending on hustle. Your team stops depending on you, and your delivery finally becomes predictable, repeatable, and scalable. So this is what it looks like when founders shift from doing the work to designing how the work gets done. So now that you understand the structure behind the delivery system blueprint, let's ground it in the numbers that tell you whether your systems are healthy. There are 3 metrics every founder should track. Now, I don't care if you're a service provider or a SaaS founder or a hybrid model. These 3 numbers reveal the state of your delivery better than anything else you could measure. So first is activation rate. That tells you whether your onboarding actually works. A 25% improvement in activation correlates to a 34% increase in monthly recurring revenue. Why? Because activation is where customers decide whether your promise feels real. Second is utilization. This is your team's operating temperature. The sweet spot is about 80 to 85%. Below 80% means that your team is underperforming. Above 85% means that your team is about to burn out. This number protects your people and your delivery quality. Your net revenue retention, NRR, 110 to 120% NRR is the holy grail. It means you're not just keeping customers, you're expanding them. At this level, growth becomes predictable because loyalty becomes your engine. Together, these metrics tell you two things. Are we delivering well? And can we deliver more? This is where data becomes your strategic advantage. So, this is the principle that separates really reactive founders from scalable ones. The smartest founders don't build for today, they build for 1.5 times ahead of where they are now. So, if you have 100 customers, your system should be ready for 150. If you deliver 20 projects a month, you should be structured for 30. If your team is 3 people, you should have SOPs that allow 5 to onboard seamlessly. Why? Because by the time you fix a bottleneck, growth has already outpaced it. This is the mindset shift that we get to make. We get to kind of stop building for the business that we have and start building for the business that's coming. So this is the heart of the delivery systems blueprint. Anticipation, not reaction; rhythm, not recovery; systems that make your future possible, not your present chaotic. So to turn today's training into something you can actually use, we've created another worksheet that walks you step by step through building your delivery system blueprint. So this isn't about theory. This is the same framework we use with our founders, our startups, and our enterprise teams inside of Copper and Vine. So when you scan the QR code, you'll get access to a capacity mapping exercise, a delivery flow template, a system audit for every stage of your customer journey, a repeatability scorecard, and a blueprint outline you can hand directly to your team. This is your moment to make the invisible visible. So do the homework, build your blueprint. Scaling doesn't start with selling more, okay? Scaling starts with delivering smarter. So, as we close, I want to leave you with 4 anchors, 4 truths that I hope will guide you no matter how fast you're growing. A is consistency is a system, not a personality. It does not matter how talented your team is. Consistency comes from structure, not heroics. Okay? Document before you delegate. If you hand off chaos, you multiply chaos. If you hand off clarity, you multiply excellence. Automate the repeatable. Humanize the rational. Automation protects your time. Human touch protects your brand. Finally, SOPs protect quality. Data protects improvement. SOPs tell everyone how to win. Data tells you how to win better. These 4 principles are the backbone of a delivery service systems blueprint, the thing that takes you from delivery reactively to delivering with confidence, predictability, and scale. Okay? Because systems aren't meant to slow you down, right? They're meant to speed repeatable processes. As we wrap, I want to take a moment to ground everything you learned today in who we are and why we teach this work. At Copper and Vine, we've spent nearly a decade helping founders scale responsibly, not through hustle, but through architecture. We've worked across sectors: government, nonprofit, Fortune 100, venture backed SaaS, and the consistent pattern we've seen is this: growth is not a marketing problem, growth is a systems problem. And our work is founder centered. That means we don't force you into someone else's playbook. We design systems that fit your leadership, your values, and your pace. We are compliance first because speed means nothing if you can't sustain it ethically, securely, and with integrity. And if you want to explore how we can support your next stage, whether that's refining your infrastructure, preparing for fundraising, or building a delivery engine that can hold real scale, feel free to scan that QR code. We'd love to offer you a free consultation. This is your invitation to work smarter, not harder, and to architect the next layer of your business with clarity. We started the Founders Challenge, a 20 weeks challenge, 20 videos meant to walk you through step by step what it means to build an enterprise ready idea. And we hope that you see us as a resource as we continue on. Next week, our next session, week 9, we're taking everything you've built, your delivery flow, your customer journey, your capacity map, and we're translating it into delegation-ready systems. You can't scale if everything still depends on you. So in week 9, we're going to walk through how to turn your processes into those SOPs that your team can actually follow, how to document your work in a way that transfers not just tasks, but judgment, the difference between checklists and playbooks and when you need them, and how to prepare your business so delegation becomes an engine, not a risk. So if today was about building the blueprint, next week is going to be about making it replicable. And the moment you can hand off your work, right, with confidence, your business stops being limited by your time. So that capacity number gets higher. And I look forward to it. I got to leave you with my favorite thing, and that is to tell you what many brilliant founders tend to forget. You have permission to lead a big idea. You have permission to build something that doesn't shrink your values just to scale faster. You have permission to create systems that carry your vision, not drain you. You have permission to grow in a way that feels aligned and ethical, human, and sustainable. Scaling isn't about becoming someone new. It's about building an infrastructure strong enough to carry the person and the business you already are. Your idea is allowed to be big. Your systems are allowed to support that bigness. So thank you for showing up today. Thank you for showing up with your curiosity, your courage, and the willingness to build better. The founders who scale successfully all have one thing in common. They make the invisible visible. Today you did that. You mapped the unseen, you built clarity where chaos once lived, and you took a step toward turning your excellence into something repeatable, sustainable, and scalable. So until next week, go build with intention, go deliver with confidence, and above all, go be great. Until next time, I'll see you soon.